Hey guys, this is the Overthinker, and we are back. We got Eagles and Chiefs. This was a pretty good game. I was able to catch up to it. Now, first here, I want to mention that the broadcast for this game was not started when the game started, basically. So when I recorded this on YouTube TV, basically, the recording starts with about 3 minutes left in the first quarter, which is insane. Basically, I missed 4 drives. And that's pretty insane for me, but I have the basic YouTube TV. I don't have the NFL Sunday Ticket one where you're supposed to be able to watch every game no matter what. But people on Twitter are saying that even those who have NFL Sunday Ticket were not able to watch the Chiefs game when it started. To me, that is completely unacceptable. People pay an insane amount of money for that. I don't even know how much money it is. There's no way I would pay that much money, even if it worked that way. But the way they're advertising it, you can watch any game at any time, no matter what, on Sunday. But they are lying. So yeah, pretty insane that they just locked out most of the country from watching most of the first quarter of this game, the Super Bowl rematch, the game that everybody wanted to see. Nobody cared about the Cowboys and the Giants. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that would have rather watched that game in overtime, but most NFL fans that are not Cowboys or Giants fans are not watching that game once the Chiefs and Eagles start on the Super Bowl rematch, okay? It's just that simple. And another thing I want to say as we start this, the NFL is going to have to do something about this Tush Push play. Now, I'm not saying it's illegal or anything, but when the offensive line is obviously leaving early, they have to call a foul. They cannot allow the offensive line to false start on a 4th and 1. That's basically the game. Okay, and they did this on the goal line, and they also did this late in the third quarter. I think it was the start of the fourth quarter, one of those two. The Eagles basically had multiple times they ran this play, and the left guard and right guard were starting early. Even Tom Brady on the broadcast said, wow, that's bad. They left early. With the amount of money that people are betting on these games and the amount of viewership that sports betting has brought to the sport, you cannot just allow that to happen. Okay, it's a foul, and you have to call it. And I don't care if they have to stop the game, okay, and look at it. They do it all the time for other stuff. So if the offensive line is clearly and obviously starting early, they can just stop the game and throw the foul. It's not really that complicated. So first I wanted to take a look at this clip. It is Dean Blandino, okay, and he is basically talking about this play and how it is impossible for him to officiate as an official. Now, he is Fox Sports NFL. He is their lead officiating expert. He is the guy who you ask the questions. Is this legal? Okay, listen to him on this.
I'm done with the tush push, guys. It's a hard play to officiate, like we've been talking with. I am done with the tush push, guys. It's a hard play to officiate.
Right, so that basically explains all of it right there. It is impossible to officiate live. So if they have to stop the game, that's what they're going to have to do. When the offensive line leaves early like that, they can now not just continue to allow it, especially when the game is on the line like that, and a lot of money is on the line. We're talking millions of dollars probably on both sides of the bets. And this is coming from a Lions fan. You know, I don't really have any bias in this scenario. You know, I would say for most of my life I've been more of an Eagles fan than a Chiefs fan. So for whatever that's worth, you know, I'm not really a fan of either team, but I like watching football regardless of really who's playing. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this game. Now, I thought overall this game was a very fun matchup. Just a ton of really good defensive play. Lots of really good tackling, good coverage, lots of blitzing on both sides. You know, you had Spagnolia really dialing up 6-7 man pressures like almost every drive they were sending them. And yeah, even the Eagles, you know, the Eagles in the Super Bowl didn't really blitz at all. You know, that's a stat that was going around. They basically did not blitz the entire game or something crazy like that. And yeah, the Eagles definitely blitzed quite a bit this game. Now, on the first drive for the Eagles, they were able to go down and score with a Barkley touchdown. And on the next drive by the Chiefs, basically, they had a chance to go score a touchdown. But on third down there, Mahomes takes a sack from Andrew Makuba, the second-round safety. Blitzing safety who Mahomes really never saw on the play. And I'm pretty sure he didn't see it. And definitely the offensive line didn't know it was coming because the center on the play went to the left, meaning he didn't think there was a blitz coming from the right, obviously. So on the right side of the line, they kind of had a 2-on-3 with Makuba coming in late untouched. And that just led to Mahomes having to take the sack. But I think if he had saw Juju Smith over the middle, and if he had known that the blitz was coming, he probably could have got it to Juju for the first down potentially there. But taking the sack made them have to kick the long field goal there, and that is a 4-point play. Now, that is just one play, but that is probably one of the more important plays of this game that could have gone either way, like you flip a coin. And there's really 3 plays like that, I think, that just kind of went the Eagles' way. And yeah, the next drive, the Eagles had a false start and a holding call, kind of completely killing that drive. And then the ensuing drive after that, Travis Kelce on fourth down makes an incredible catch to extend that drive. And then on 3rd and 5, they had an incredible play. I think I wanted to show, but I couldn't find it. A clip of this one. Basically, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter both walked back their offensive linemen that were trying to block them right into Mahomes' lap on that 3rd and 5. They got incredibly lucky that there was offsetting penalties on that one, and they got to retry that 3rd and 5. And then when they got to retry that 3rd and 5, you had this crazy play by Mahomes trucking a defender. And yeah, I think we're going to start to see Mahomes take some more hits in the open field because defenders are going to know he's trying to run him over. I think over the past couple of years, defenders have gotten used to Mahomes kind of sliding in those situations, but it looks like he's being quite a bit more aggressive right now. And definitely because from my perspective, it definitely seems like defenders are kind of pulling up just a bit because they don't really know what Mahomes is going to do. So if they start just going at him full speed, he's going to take some huge hits. And yeah, on the very next play, Mahomes scrambles out on the right side for a nice rushing touchdown. And at this point, Mahomes had more rushing yards than passing yards. He actually only had about 60 passing yards to start. I think it was about halfway through the 3rd quarter. It was a crazy game. And on the following drive, you had an interesting kind of coaching decision. This is really one of the only ones that I would say kind of I don't really agree with. So Nick Sirianni had 2 timeouts and a running clock. That is important to factor in, but the clock was running, okay, but the ball is on the 34. They have 2 timeouts and it's 4th and 1, and they elect to try a 50-something yard field goal instead of going for the 4th and 1, calling the timeout with about maybe 20 seconds left, and then trying to get a touchdown or trying to get closer for like an easy field goal. That is definitely an interesting coaching decision that could have cost them the game. So something to look at for Eagles. Another thing that, like, you could flip a coin, they don't make that field goal, and this game goes into overtime or something, right? Yeah, so that was pretty interesting. And then coming out there in the second half, first drive there, Chiefs go for it on 4th down from their own 30, and they don't get it. So that was pretty insane. Another just like coin flip thing that did not go the Chiefs' way. And then somehow their defense holds the Eagles to a field goal. Another just incredible showing of, like, this game was all about defense, field position. And at this point, watching the game, I really started to think about the Eagles linebackers as a total unit. And I guess I just didn't realize how good they are with Jihad Campbell, the rookie, just playing incredibly well for a rookie. You don't really see rookie linebackers coming out and like looking like a good starter very often. So yeah, that's pretty insane. They're gonna have, Jihad Campbell and Zach Bond. That is really good. So yeah, next drive you had Mahomes inches away from a big play from Tyquan Thornton on the left side there, just like almost a touchdown, possibly. He definitely had a couple steps on the defender there, and Mahomes just kind of overthrows him a little bit. So yeah, just another drive that was just inches away from a completion and converting and, scoring some more points. And then the next drive by the Eagles had a huge stack by Norman Lott. Had one of the biggest hits I've seen on a quarterback in a while. Like, he was getting blocked, and then he chucked his blocker, started running at Hurts just as Hurts started turning upfield, and he absolutely detonated Jalen Hurts. Yeah, so that was a pretty fun play. And then the next drive by the Chiefs, they get a little bit of the passing game going. And at this point, going into this drive, Mahomes had about 65 passing yards, I believe. And at the end of this drive, he had almost 120. So half of his passing yards on the day pretty much came from this drive. Big play to Travis Kelce, and a couple of nice plays from Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton. Also, you had the 4th and 1 conversion by Kareem Hunt. Pretty big play there, obviously. And then you had an incredible play by Andrew Makuba on the goal line. Another coin flip type of play. I did pull up this play here on Twitter, so we're going to watch this one. And yeah, another pretty insane play that's basically a coin flip. Definitely wanted to show this one. Basically, this is just a throw over the middle to Kelce, bounces off his hands, lands in the hands of the defender. Now, this is a play that, would have been kind of tough to catch. Obviously, the ball kind of landed on him quickly as he was turning his head around to try and find out if he was going to get the ball, obviously. But then you also had Josh Simmons running this down. Oh, my gosh. He had to run a long ways to make that play, man. That is incredible. You do not see offensive linemen making plays like that 40 yards away from an interception. So that was just an incredible effort from Josh Simmons just by himself, keeping the Chiefs in this game. And yeah, just a few plays later, you had a very weak face mask penalty against the Chiefs. I felt like, I don't know if it was Karlaftis or one of the guys, but they just barely touched. I think it was Saquon Barkley's helmet. It was as he was running through the hole, someone just glanced their fingers on his helmet and they called a face mask. It was they didn't even get it into the grate part of it, the holes in the guard. So yeah, I felt like that was a pretty weak face mask penalty, one of the weakest I've seen. Technically, yes, the hand touched it, but he didn't grab anything. Yeah, so I definitely thought that was pretty weak. And then a couple plays later, you had this play, another just coin flip play that could have gone the other way. Yeah, so you had this all-out blitz here. The Chiefs are going to send 7 guys on this one, okay? And Hurts is just going to get this one off, kind of underthrowing this to the back shoulder, and McDuffie just could not find the ball in time. That is another insane play that easily could have gone the other way. McDuffie has made plenty of plays like that. So yeah, pretty much you had that play, and then you had the Eagles running basically back-to-back tush pushes on the goal line, and that's where a lot of this Twitter discourse is coming from, people talking about it. The offensive line leaving early is definitely a problem. They're going to have to address it going forward at some point. And then on the next drive, you had some really nice coverage by the Eagles, basically forcing the Chiefs off of the field, and then you get a very, very weak roughing the passer on the Eagles. I forget who it was, but it's another one of those where, the guy just barely touches Mahomes. I'm not kidding you, laid half of his hand on Mahomes' shoulder or something like that. Just a terrible penalty. That drive should have been over, okay? And then I think it's the next play, Mahomes misses a wide open Tyquan Thornton. There's no one within 15 yards of him on this play, and that is insane. And I think we are really starting to see the inaccuracies from Mahomes downfield. A lot of people have talked about this, you're looking at stats and stuff, but in the beginning of his career, he had Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek was incredibly good at just finding the ball and making slight adjustments as he's going to get it. There's a lot of plays where Tyreek was running straight, okay, and had to turn his entire body around to go find the ball. And not every receiver is capable of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, a lot of those throws that he made earlier in his career were not quite as accurate as you might have thought because Tyreek is running so fast and he's just so good at making those kind of plays, especially early in his career. But, yeah, then a couple plays later, you had another big-time throw. This time he hits Tyquan Thornton down the field behind the defense, and a nice touchdown there. So, yeah, potentially they could get that going a little bit more going forward. Just a few more of those shots a game, I think. And then you have guys like Juju and Hollywood Brown and Kelsey to work under the middle. And then when Xavier Worthy comes back and Rashee Rice, obviously, all this stuff would become a little better. But, yeah, that was pretty much the end of the game there. Chiefs had no more timeouts and had to get the ball back to the Eagles after not converting on an onside kick. And the Eagles were just able to pick up a first down and end the game there. So, yeah, overall, I think this was a pretty fun game in terms of the viewing experience. But I still got to say, the tush push thing, they have got to officiate that play just like any other play. If the offensive line leaves super early, you have to call a foul. But, yeah, I think overall, kind of like, overarching thoughts here, I think I would come away from this game thinking a lot better about the Chiefs in terms of offense and defense. And as far as the Eagles, definitely feeling better about their defense, but maybe not so much about the offense. There definitely were a lot of times when it was like a lot of short stuff. Jalen Hurts only had like one downfield throw, the one we showed to Devontae Smith. Other than that, it was all just like really short passing, dumping it down, and kind of freezing versus the blitz a few times and just trying to scramble. He did make some plays with his feet, though. Definitely picked up some first downs running the ball. But, yeah, overall a pretty good game. And I don't think if you're a Chiefs fan, you should just be completely panicking. I know they are 0-2, but I still think they are one of the better overall teams in the NFL, and they definitely still have a chance to make the playoffs. There's no question, especially when you look at the Bengals. They might be missing Joe Burrow for at least a few weeks. And yeah, I still think the Chiefs will win somewhere between 11 and 10 games. Pretty much regardless of what happens, they're going to find a way to get in the playoffs probably. And they're probably going to at least win a playoff game and potentially make it all the way. You never really know. I mean, this is not the worst Chiefs roster we've ever seen. They're a good team. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.